You know what they say about a man who has nothing left to lose? He's the most dangerous creature on God's green earth. But you know what's even more terrifying? A grandfather who realizes his family has been targeted by professional predators. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of predators you see on the evening news. I'm talking about the ones who smile at you from across the dinner table, who call you dad with honey in their voice, while their hands are already deep in your pockets. My name is Robert Mitchell, and I spent 32 years as a senior financial crimes investigator for the Phoenix Police Department. In that time, I've seen every con, every scheme, every carefully crafted deception that human minds can devise. I've put away identity thieves, organized crime syndicates, and white-collar criminals who thought they were untouchable. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared me for the moment I discovered that the predator was sleeping in my own son's bed. 3 weeks before my grandson was born, my daughter-in-law Jennifer called me with a voice so warm it could have melted butter. "Robert, the baby's coming any day now, and Evan and I would be devastated if you weren't here for the birth. You've waited so long to be a grandfather. We want you right there with us." Now, I should have known something was wrong the moment she called me Robert. In the 4 years she'd been married to my son, she'd never once used my first name. It was always Mr. Mitchell or Dad when Evan was in the room. But the prospect of holding my first grandchild had reduced my 58-year-old detective instincts to mush. I was going to be a grandfather, and that's all that mattered. I live alone in Phoenix now. My wife passed 5 years ago, and since then, it's just been me and my memories. Evan, my only son, moved to Denver after he married Jennifer. They wanted a fresh start, they said. Away from the big city, away from the crime statistics that had defined my entire career. I understood. Hell, I encouraged it. I didn't want my son living in the shadow of my work, always wondering if some criminal I'd put away might come looking for payback. When Evan called to tell me Jennifer was pregnant, I cried for the first time since my wife's funeral. "Dad," he said, his voice cracking with emotion, "you're going to be the best grandfather in the world. Nathan's going to be so lucky to have you." Nathan. That was the name they'd chosen, Nathan Andrew Mitchell. I'd already started a savings account for him, a small one, just something to help with college someday. I'd bought books about being a grandfather, for crying out loud. I wanted to get it right. I wanted to be the dad I hadn't always been, the dad who was present, who showed up, who made his family feel like they mattered above everything else. So when Jennifer called with that invitation, I didn't think twice. I packed my bags, filled the car with gas, and started the 12-hour drive from Phoenix to Denver. I brought the baby gifts I'd been collecting for months, a handmade quilt my wife had started before she died, a wooden rocking horse I'd carved myself in my workshop, and a small photo album of my family. My parents, my wife, Evan as a boy. I wanted Nathan to know where he came from, even if he was too young to understand. The drive itself was brutal. I'm not a young man anymore, and 12 hours behind the wheel takes a toll on these old bones. But every mile brought me closer to my grandson, and that made the pain bearable. I stopped only for gas and coffee, calling Evan twice to check if there was any news. Both times Jennifer answered his phone, her voice sweet as honey. "Drive safely, Robert. We can't wait to see you. Evan's just so excited you're coming." I remember thinking how strange it was that Evan never answered his own phone. But I dismissed it. He was probably just busy running around getting things ready, stressed about becoming a father. God knows I was a wreck when my wife was in labor. The last stretch of the drive was the worst. A snowstorm had rolled through the mountains, and I spent 3 hours creeping along I-70 at 30 miles an hour, white-knuckling the steering wheel, praying I wouldn't slide off the road. I kept thinking about Jennifer's words. "We'd be devastated if you weren't here." She said that. She actually said that while I was risking my life to get there. I pulled into the hospital parking garage at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. I was exhausted, dehydrated, and running on nothing but adrenaline and caffeine. But I was there. I'd made it. I was going to meet my grandson. The maternity ward was quiet when I walked in. The receptionist at the front desk told me Jennifer was in labor, room 314. I practically floated down the hallway, my heart pounding with anticipation. I'd been a cop for 32 years, seen things that would make most people's blood run cold, but nothing made me feel like I was about to meet my grandson. That's when I found Evan pacing outside the delivery room. He wasn't excited. He wasn't relieved. He looked like a man who'd just been told he had 6 months to live. "Dad," he said my name like it was a question, like he couldn't understand why I'd be standing in front of him. "What are you doing here?" The words hit me like a physical blow. "What do you mean, what am I doing here? Jennifer invited me. She said you wanted me here for the birth." Evan's eyes darted toward the delivery room door, then back to me. He looked like a man caught between two impossible choices. She changed her mind, Dad. She wants it to be just us, immediate family only. You understand, right? I've been a cop long enough to know when someone's lying to me. Evan was a terrible liar. It was one of the things I loved most about him. But right then, standing in that hospital corridor, I couldn't process it. My son, my only son, was telling me I wasn't wanted. Evan, I drove 12 hours. I nearly died in a snowstorm to get here. I'm not asking to be in the delivery room. I'm just asking to be nearby when my grandson arrives. I know, Dad, but Jennifer's really adamant about this. You know how she gets when she's stressed? The doctor said stress could complicate the delivery. You don't want anything to happen to the baby, do you? And there it was. The guilt trip. The implication that if I pushed back, I'd be responsible for something going wrong. It was manipulation. Pure and simple, and I recognized it immediately. But I was too tired and too shocked to fight in a hospital corridor. "Fine," I said quietly. "I'll go to my hotel and wait for your call." Evan's face flooded with relief. "Thanks, Dad. I'll call you as soon as the baby's born." I spent the next 8 hours in my hotel room checking my phone every 5 minutes. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Something about the whole situation felt wrong, not just hurtful wrong, like I was missing something important. A cop's instinct, I told myself, probably just feeling hurt and making it into something more than it was. When Evan finally called at 10 a.m. Wednesday morning, his voice was exhausted but happy. "Dad, he's here. Nathan Andrew Mitchell, 7 pounds, 2 ounces. He's perfect. Congratulations, son. When can I meet him?" Another pause, a hesitation that spoke volumes. "Michelle's really tired, Dad. The delivery was rough. Maybe give us a day or two to settle in." "Evan, I'm his grandfather. I drove 12 hours to be here." "I know, and we appreciate that, but Jennifer needs to recover. You understand, right?" No, I didn't understand. But I agreed because what choice did I have? I spent 2 more days in that hotel room, ordering room service and watching terrible daytime television, while my son and his wife bonded with my grandson 3 miles away. I called Evan twice more. Each time, Jennifer answered the phone and gave me some excuse about why they couldn't have visitors. Thursday came and went with no call. Friday morning, I finally drove to the hospital myself, determined to at least see my grandson through the nursery window. That's when I discovered they'd already been discharged. I called Evan immediately. "You took the baby home without even telling me?" "Dad, Jennifer wanted to get home to her own space. She's been really anxious about germs and visitors." "I'm not a visitor, Evan. I'm your father. I'm Nathan's grandfather." "I know that. Look, maybe next month when things settle down." "Next month? I've driven 12 hours to see my grandson next month." That's when I made the decision that would change everything. I hung up, packed my bags, and drove back to Phoenix. If they wanted to exclude me from Nathan's birth, fine, but they were about to learn that actions have consequences. The drive back to Phoenix was a blur. Not of exhaustion this time, but of cold, methodical anger. In 32 years of law enforcement, I developed instincts about people. Something about this whole situation felt orchestrated, like I'd been deliberately pushed out. But why? What possible reason could Jennifer have for inviting me, then making sure I never got close to the baby? I pulled into my driveway Saturday evening, exhausted and frustrated. My neighbor, Mrs. Garcia, waved from her garden. "How's the new grandbaby, Robert?" "Beautiful," I said, forcing a smile. "Just beautiful." But as I walked into my empty house, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something much worse. Sunday morning, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Denver General Hospital. "Is this Robert Mitchell?" "Yes, ma'am." We have some paperwork issues regarding the birth of Nathan Andrew Mitchell. The insurance claim was denied, and we need to discuss payment arrangements for the delivery bill. My heart started pounding, but not with anxiety, with something much more satisfying. I'm sorry, but I think there's been some confusion. I'm not responsible for that bill. Our records show you as the financial guarantor for Jennifer Mitchell's delivery. I sat down heavily in my kitchen chair, my mind racing. When exactly was this form signed? Let me check. It shows here that the forms were submitted electronically on November 15th at 11:47 p.m. November 15th, the night I was driving through the middle of nowhere, Utah, probably around the time I stopped for gas near Salt Lake City. I'd been on the road for 8 hours, exhausted, and focused on getting to Denver safely. And how exactly were these forms submitted? Electronically through our patient portal. The signature appears to be yours, Mr. Mitchell. The pieces were falling into place with sickening clarity, while I was white-knuckling it through a snowstorm on I-70, desperate to reach Denver before my grandson was born. Jennifer was forging my signature on financial documents. I need to see these forms. Can you email them to me? Certainly. What email address should I use? 20 minutes later, I was staring at documents that made my blood run cold. Not only had Jennifer forged my signature, but she'd also somehow obtained my social security number, address, and financial information. The forms clearly stated that as the paternal grandfather, I had requested to be financially responsible for the delivery as a gift to the new parents. But the most infuriating part was the timing. These forms were submitted while Jennifer was sweet-talking me on the phone about being there for the birth, knowing full well that she planned to stick me with the bill while excluding me from actually seeing my grandson. Now, here's where my 32 years as a financial crimes investigator kicked in. I didn't get angry. I got methodical. First, I pulled out my old case files and found my contact list from the department. Detective Marcus Webb in Denver PD's Fraud Division had worked with me on a multi-state identity theft ring 5 years ago. Good cop. Thorough investigator. I gave him a call. Marcus, it's Robert Mitchell from Phoenix PD. I need a favor, and it's personal. Robert, how's retirement treating you? What can I do for you? Someone's committed identity theft against me, and I think there's more to it than just one incident. Can you run a background check on someone for me? Of course. What's the name? Jennifer Mitchell. Maiden name unknown. Lives in Denver. Married to my son Evan. Born around 1992, give or take. I'll run it through our databases and see what comes up. You thinking organized fraud? My gut says yes. The timing, the sophistication, it feels professional. While I waited for Marcus's call back, I started documenting everything. Screenshots of Jennifer's texts inviting me to Denver. Call logs showing when she contacted me. Photos I'd taken during my drive with GPS timestamps proving where I was when the forms were supposedly signed. Even my hotel receipts and gas station purchases along the route. A 32-year career had taught me that the devil is in the details. Then I called my old partner from financial crimes, Detective Patricia Lee, who'd transferred to the FBI's white-collar crime division 3 years ago. Pat, I need some advice. Hypothetically, if someone forged financial documents across state lines, what kind of charges are we looking at? Hypothetically, wire fraud, identity theft, potentially RICO if it's part of a larger scheme. Why, Robert? Someone ripping off retirees? Someone rip off this retiree, and I think my daughter-in-law isn't who she claims to be. Email me everything you have. I'll take a look. Next, I set up my old surveillance equipment in my home office. Hidden digital recorders, backup hard drives, a dedicated phone line for recording conversations. If Jennifer wanted to play games with a retired detective, she was going to get the full treatment. My phone buzzed with a text from Evan. Dad, hope you made it home safely. Jennifer's doing great, and Nathan is such a good baby. We'll send pictures soon. Pictures. After excluding me from his birth and forging financial documents in my name, they thought pictures would smooth things over. I typed back carefully. Glad everyone's healthy. Looking forward to meeting Nathan soon. By the way, the hospital called about some paperwork issues. Nothing serious, just need to sort out some billing confusion. I wanted to see how they'd react to that. Would Jennifer panic? Try to cover her tracks? In my experience, criminals always made mistakes when they thought they were safe. The truth. Tuesday morning brought Marcus Webb's call back. Robert, you sitting down? I'm standing, but I'll grab a chair. What'd you find? Your daughter-in-law doesn't exist. What do you mean? Jennifer Mitchell, born 1992, no record in Colorado DMV, no social security history before 2022. Whatever name she was using before she married your son, it wasn't Jennifer Mitchell. My stomach dropped. What about social security fraud? That's where it gets interesting. The SSN she's using belongs to a Jennifer Wilson, who died in Idaho in 2018. Car accident. No family. Someone's been very clever about assuming a clean identity. Marcus, this is looking like a federal case. Already made some calls. FBI's interested. You got someone there you trust? Pat Lee, White Collar Crimes. She's expecting my call. Good, Robert. I'm thinking your daughter-in-law is part of something bigger. We've had 4 cases in the past year involving fraud against law enforcement families. Always the same pattern. Someone marries in, gains access to financial information, then disappears with whatever they can grab. 4 cases. Phoenix, Albuquerque, Salt Lake City, and now Denver. All cops or firefighters. All had their in-laws or family members defrauded by someone who turned out to have false identities. I felt cold all over. Marcus, are you telling me my son was specifically targeted? That's what it's looking like. These people research their marks, Robert. They know cops have steady incomes, good credit, access to databases, and family members who trust them. Your son's a paramedic, right? First responders are prime targets. After hanging up, I sat in my kitchen, staring at my hands. This wasn't just about a forged hospital bill. Someone had infiltrated my family, manipulated my son into marriage, and was systematically stealing from us. And they picked the wrong retired detective to mess with. I called the hospital back. This is Robert Mitchell. I just reviewed the financial responsibility forms, and I need to report fraud. Fraud, sir? That's right. And I'm a retired police detective. I know exactly what you're looking at here. For the next hour, I provided the hospital's legal department with every detail of Jennifer's deception. They were particularly interested in the fact that Jennifer had invited me to Denver while simultaneously committing fraud in my name. Mr. Mitchell, this is indeed a serious matter. We'll be filing a police report and turning this over to our fraud investigation team. In the meantime, all charges to your name are suspended pending investigation. After hanging up, I sat in my kitchen staring at my phone. Jennifer had played this perfectly, or so she thought. She'd gotten me out of the way during the birth, had her private family moment, and planned to stick me with an $8,500 bill as a final insult. What she didn't know was that I'd spent 32 years investigating people exactly like her. And now I was going to use every trick I'd learned. The trap. My doorbell rang that afternoon. Through the peephole, I could see a woman in her 30s holding a manila envelope. Robert Mitchell? I'm Agent Patricia Lee, investigator with Denver General Hospital's Fraud Prevention Department. I have some documents for you to review. She handed me the envelope and waited while I opened it. Inside were printed copies of security footage from the night the fraudulent forms were submitted. The screenshots showed Jennifer at a computer in the hospital's family lounge, typing on their patient portal system. Mr. Mitchell, these images were captured at 11:52 p.m. on November 15th, approximately 5 minutes after the financial responsibility forms were submitted under your name. There was Jennifer, clear as day, hunched over a laptop in the hospital's waiting area. The timestamp showed I was still 4 hours away from Denver, somewhere in the Utah mountains with no cell service. What happens now? I asked. The evidence is overwhelming. Hospital fraud is a federal offense when it involves identity theft across state lines. Your daughter-in-law is looking at significant jail time and financial penalties. As Agent Lee drove away, I knew it was time to take this investigation to the next level. I called my FBI contact, Patricia Lee from White Collar Crimes. Pat, it's Robert. I'm ready to discuss that hypothetical case. Send me everything. I'll review it tonight and get back to you tomorrow. That evening, I got a call that changed everything. It was Marcus Webb from Denver PD. Robert, we found something big. Remember those 4 cases I mentioned? We've been working with the FBI, and they think your daughter-in-law is part of a 6-person criminal organization. 6 people? They call themselves family infiltrators. They research law enforcement families, have one of their female operatives seduce the target, then systematically steal from everyone connected. Your son wasn't randomly chosen, Robert. He was hunted. Jesus Christ. Gets worse. The ringleader is a guy named Anthony Rivera. He recruits women with criminal backgrounds, trains them in identity theft, and sends them out to marry first responders. They've hit cops in Phoenix, Albuquerque, Salt Lake City, and now Denver. What's their total take? Conservative estimate, $217,000 over the past 2 years. But here's the thing. We think they're planning something bigger with your family. Like what? Life insurance fraud. We found applications for substantial policies on Jennifer and your grandson. If something were to happen to them, I felt sick. They're planning to fake their deaths. Or make them real. Robert, I need you to be very careful here. These people have killed before. After Marcus's call, I knew I had to act fast but smart. I couldn't just wait for the FBI to build their case. My family was in immediate danger. So I decided to set a trap. The setup. The next morning I called Evan. Son, I need to talk to you about something important. Can you come over this weekend? Bring Jennifer and Nathan. Dad, I don't think Jennifer's ready for visitors yet. Tell her I'm not angry about the hospital thing. I understand she was stressed. In fact, I've got some good news to share. Remember my old partner Jack Morrison? He passed away last month and left me a substantial inheritance. $75,000. I'm thinking about setting up a trust. I heard Evan covering the phone talking to Jennifer in hushed tones. When he came back on the line, his voice was different. More excited. You know what, Dad? Jennifer says she's feeling better. We could drive down Saturday morning. Perfect. Tell Jennifer I'm looking forward to meeting my grandson properly. While I waited for Saturday, I prepared my trap. I set up hidden cameras in my living room and kitchen, positioned to capture both audio and video. I programmed my phone to automatically back up all recordings to a secure cloud server. I even borrowed some surveillance equipment from my old partner who ran a private investigation firm. Most importantly, I prepared fake documents showing the inheritance from Jack Morrison. Bank statements, legal papers, even a will, all fabricated but professional looking enough to fool someone who wasn't a cop. I also reached out to my network. 4 retired detectives agreed to be on standby nearby in case things went wrong. Pat Lee from the FBI positioned agents 2 blocks away. Marcus Webb arranged for Denver PD to monitor Evan's apartment in case Jennifer tried to run. Saturday morning arrived with Arizona sunshine and cool November air. I made coffee, checked my recording equipment one more time, and waited. At 10:30 a.m., I heard car doors slamming in my driveway. Through my window, I watched Evan get out of their Honda Accord, then Jennifer stepped out holding a baby carrier. My first glimpse of Nathan took my breath away. Even from a distance, I could see he looked just like Evan had as a baby. I opened the door before they could knock. Come in, let me see my grandson." The operation. For the next hour, I played the role of excited grandfather. I held Nathan, took pictures, and made all the appropriate noises about how beautiful he was. And he truly was beautiful. Innocent. Perfect. Completely unaware that his mother was a professional criminal. Jennifer seemed nervous but tried to hide it. She kept glancing around my house, probably noting the security system, the good furniture, the family photos showing a comfortable retirement. Robert, Evan mentioned something about an inheritance. There it was. The hook was in the water and she'd taken the bait immediately. Oh yes, quite a windfall actually. My old partner Jack left me $75,000. I'm thinking about investing it in Nathan's future. Jennifer's eyes lit up. That's so generous of you. What kind of investment were you thinking? Well, I was hoping to discuss that with you and Evan. You're the boys' parents after all. Maybe we could set up some kind of trust fund, or maybe help with a larger expense you might be planning. I watched her carefully. This was the moment of truth. Would she try to con me or play it safe? She didn't disappoint. Actually, Robert, Evan and I have been talking about buying a house. Something with a yard for Nathan to play in when he gets older. but the down payment requirements these days are just impossible. How much are we talking about? She glanced at Evan, who was playing with Nathan and not really paying attention to our conversation. Well, we found this perfect place in a great neighborhood. It's $425,000, so we'd need about $50,000 for the down payment. 50,000, I repeated, making sure my hidden cameras caught every word. That's a significant chunk of the inheritance. Oh, we wouldn't expect you to pay for all of it. Maybe you could help with part of it. Even $20,000 or $30,000 would make such a difference. I pretended to consider this. You know, Jennifer, that sounds like a wonderful investment in Nathan's future. Tell you what, why don't you send me the details about... I'd love to see where my grandson might grow up. Of course. I can email you everything tonight. Perfect. And Jennifer, I'll need some financial information from you and Evan. Bank statements, credit reports, that sort of thing. The trust fund lawyers will need to verify everything for tax purposes. I watched her face carefully. For just a moment, I saw a flicker of something, panic. But she recovered quickly. Absolutely. We can get you whatever you need. The arrest. After they left that afternoon, I immediately called Pat Lee at the FBI. The trap worked. She took the bait, and it's all on video. Excellent. We've been monitoring her communications. She's already texted someone about your inheritance. We think it's Anthony Rivera, the ringleader. What's the next step? We wait. If our profile is correct, she'll try to steal the entire $75,000 within the next week. When she does, we'll have her on federal wire fraud charges. I didn't have to wait long. Tuesday morning, I got a call from my bank. Mr. Mitchell, we're calling to verify a large wire transfer request from your account. Someone claiming to be you called this morning, requesting to move $75,000 to an account in Colorado. I made no such request. Can you trace the call? Yes, sir. It came from a Denver number registered to Jennifer Mitchell. Please flag my account for fraud protection and document everything. I'll be filing a police report this afternoon. That afternoon, my doorbell rang. It was Marcus Webb from Denver PD, along with 2 FBI agents. Robert, we've got her. Jennifer Mitchell, aka Lisa Marie Foster, is under arrest for wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit financial crimes. What about Evan and Nathan? Your son is safe. We arrested Jennifer at a coffee shop 3 blocks from their apartment. She was meeting with Anthony Rivera to plan the wire transfer. We got him too. How much did you recover? $107,000 from their organization, plus we prevented the theft of your fake $75,000. Turns out they've been planning this Denver operation for 8 months. Your son was specifically targeted because of his connection to you. The aftermath. That evening, Evan showed up at my house, holding Nathan, looking like his world had collapsed. Dad, I don't understand any of this. They're saying Jennifer isn't even her real name. I guided him to my kitchen table and poured 2 cups of coffee. Son, Jennifer is a professional criminal. Her real name is Lisa Marie Foster, and she's part of an organized crime ring that targets law enforcement families. But we've been married for 4 years. We have a child together. I know, and I'm sorry you're going through this. But Evan, she never loved you. You were a mark, chosen specifically because you're a paramedic with a retired police detective for a father. I spent the next 2 hours explaining everything to Evan. The fake identity, the pattern of crimes, the wire fraud attempt, even the life insurance policies we discovered. By the end, he was crying. Dad, how could I have been so stupid? You weren't stupid. You fell in love with someone who turned out to be a lie. That's not your fault. What happens to Nathan? Is he even legally mine? We'll figure that out with lawyers. But Evan, you're his father in every way that matters, and we're going to make sure he's safe. The trial took place 6 months later. Jennifer, whose real name was indeed Lisa Marie Foster, pleaded guilty to 14 counts of wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. She received 18 years in federal prison. Anthony Rivera, the ringleader, got 25 years. During the sentencing hearing, Jennifer finally dropped her mask completely. When the judge asked if she had anything to say, she stood up and looked directly at me. You think you're so smart, old man, But there are others like me out there. You can't protect everyone. Maybe not, I replied from the gallery, but I can protect my family, and now 6 other families won't have to go through what we did. The federal investigation ultimately led to the arrest of the entire criminal network. They recovered $217,000 in stolen assets, which was distributed among the 12 victim families across 4 states. The new beginning. Evan and Nathan moved back home with me while Evan rebuilt his life. We established legal paternity, got Nathan's birth certificate corrected, and started the slow process of healing. Some evenings, I sit on my front porch watching Evan play with Nathan in the yard. I think about how close we came to losing everything. Jennifer's plan hadn't just been to steal money. They were planning to fake Nathan's death in a car accident, then disappear with him and the life insurance money. If I hadn't reported that hospital bill, if I hadn't used my detective training to investigate, Nathan would have grown up in a criminal enterprise, probably trained to commit the same crimes against other innocent families. Evan asks me sometimes how I knew to set the trap, how I figured out what Jennifer was really planning. 32 years of police work teaches you to recognize predators, I tell him. But more than that, when someone threatens your family, you learn to trust your instincts. You do whatever it takes to protect them. Nathan's 3 years old now, walking and talking and calling me Grandpa Robert. He'll never remember his mother, and maybe that's for the best. What he will know is that his family fought for him, protected him, and made sure he grew up safe. The lesson: sometimes the best thing you can do for someone you love is refuse to let them get away with destroying themselves. Jennifer learned that lesson in federal prison, but more importantly, Nathan will grow up knowing the difference between people who protect families and people who prey on them. Because sometimes being a grandfather means being willing to fight for what's right, even when it's hard. Trust your intuition when something feels wrong, even if it concerns family. Because true love doesn't require you to ignore warning signs or tolerate disrespectful treatment. And never underestimate the power of a parent's determination to protect their child. The skills and experience you've accumulated throughout your career aren't just professional qualifications. They're tools to protect those you love most when life becomes dangerous. I'm Robert Mitchell, retired detective, and I'll spend the rest of my life making sure my family is safe, no matter what it takes. Watch next. Click here for more true stories of revenge and justice. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Dad's Powerful Revenge brings you stories of regular people who fought back against injustice and won. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and let us know in the comments, what would you